Mike Tyson should burn in hell for what he's done. I got Mike Tyson again. It always sets off a bad set of results. And I blame this man. I've never seen anybody before Mike Tyson do it actually do the crap where we're going to kick the field goal and then we can kick onside and throw a Hail Mary. And when they do it, all the announcers go, "Oh, this is really smart. This is what the analytics say to do. You kick the field goal first." Which, first of all, if you do it with a minute 30 left, okay, I got it because he's still got time to make a couple plays, whatever. When you do it with 10 seconds left, it's a jackass move, and it has never worked. The Mike Tyson move only exists to backdoor cover and garbage time.
Yeah.
Scumbag. Never forgive Mike Tyson for what he has done to the sport of football.
Yeah.
If there is a hell, he should burn in it forever. One of the worst leagues to ever coach.
Yeah.
Any level of football.
Yeah. It's an awful thing and should never be tolerated. You're right. There's no.
I'm sure like Uncle Luke lost a bet on a Pee Wee League football game because someone had a 6-year-old kick a 4-yard field goal.
It should lead to an automatic suspension for the season and maybe lifetime. A lifetime ban with a chance to ask for reinstatement.
Any coach who does the cowardly Mike Tyson move should deeply be ashamed of himself.
Let's put some points on the board.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Peel Yourself Off the Mat edition of the show. Jeff DeForest. We got Superman over there. No cape, but a T-shirt. Nice one. Mike Lubie Lubitz. Looks like you've been working out, Lubie. What's going on? You look fit and ready to go here. It's not the normal byproduct of having a woman in late pregnancy stages. I remember I lived in Kendall when Jesse was in the womb and getting ready to make his way onto the planet here. Now approaching 43 years old in February. So it was a long, long time ago. I lived in Kendall, and they had just opened up the first Canton Chinese restaurant here. My wife and I at the time were huge fans of what they were doing. They had an incredible steak dish, which I don't know if they're still known for that. Is Canton Chinese still a popular place? I don't hear too much about it. I know they expanded. I don't know if they stayed with the same ownership, but it was a very charming place when they first opened up that initial location, and we could not get enough of it during the pregnancy. It's surprising that Jesse didn't come out of the womb speaking Chinese. We were shoveling his stuff along with a lot of ice cream and a lot of other things. It was one of those type of pregnancies. Do women not do that anymore? What's going on with you, Will?
Women put on lots of weight. My wife hasn't. It's been interesting. Like whenever she eats too much, she gets really sick. So early on in the pregnancy, she learned that her body's hungry more often, but she can't eat as much. So,
but how's this impacting you?
It stabilized her weight. I mean, and it hasn't pushed me to have to eat more than I would normally eat. I always watch what I eat and watch how much I eat. So she's taken more of what I normally do. So it's allowed me to just stay in shape. And she's gained, and she's healthy. She's fine. Baby's doing really well, thank God. But she hasn't gained a lot of weight at all. So, I mean, it's worked out in that regard, at least.
It looked like I was about to deliver the baby by the time I got done.
That's what I've seen. A lot of people, like her friend, put on weight, and she's lost all of it after having the baby. So she looks great, but her husband also with her, because again, they're not going to eat alone. So it saved me.
Help. You're going out and getting things. You want to satisfy your wife in every way and make sure that she feels great about what's going on. I think it's important to feel good about the whole thing if you can. Mm-hmm. And I probably had to put on like 15, 20 pounds during the time that my wife was pregnant. And of course, I really just let it stick with me because it's like, who needs to get in shape? All right. Speaking about getting in shape, another wild week. I mean, I don't know where you want to begin today, Lubie. I had an experience there. I did go to the Florida game.
Oh, yeah. I meant to talk to you about that.
It was an interesting experience. I don't want to label it as a negative experience because it wasn't, but I don't know that I'd be inclined to do something like that again. I would be more likely to go to a game that was of a much more obscure nature where you can just roll in at game time, pick out a seat, maybe work your way down to the lower level and exit at your leisure. And I'll relate some of the experience. Overall, I was happy I went. We had great seats. The people, though, stand the entire time. So that was prohibitive. I mean, you would have had the greatest view of the football field from those seats, and you could have seen every play, every little idiosyncratic nuance unfold, including what seemed to be an incredibly self-sabotaging strategy by one Mario Q. Cristobal, who somehow left the Gators in the game, in a game where they were being completely dominated. Absolutely could do nothing on offense. This Lagway was a non-entity. You were asking yourself, do the Gators even have wide receivers? They have no points on the board, and yet somehow Cristobal lets them hang around with his own ultra-conservative. I mean, I don't want to say anything. I certainly don't want to get involved in any of this Charlie Kirk stuff, but I mean, you couldn't be any further to the right in terms of conservatism in having an opportunity to bury a team and just leaving them in the game hanging to the point where it actually got to be 13-7, which was absolutely ridiculous. And then there was an ensuing interception by the Gators, and you're looking on the field in stunned disbelief, thinking, how could this be possible that the Canes would end up trailing in this ball game in the third quarter when the first half was a complete bludgeoning? Unbelievable. But we'll get to that and the whole experience. Walked about a mile and a half from the $75 per car parking lot, Lubie. Should that even...
It's up to $75.
That was for the yellow lots. That wasn't even for like inside the stadium. That was across the street.
Our way to walk a mile to 2 miles into the stadium is $75.
Mile and a hook, it was. My friends
but I mean,
I went with Jimmy to Walker, and he's got one of those things that measures everything that you do. We were always teasing Mayo about that, where we would measure his sperm count while he was taking a walk. And I don't need all that information. In fact, what's so funny is the walk that we do, I measured it with my car several times, different segments of it, because that's old school, right? You want to figure out, hey, how far did I jog today? And you take your car out and you do the route. And he's got all of these sophisticated things on his phone that gets down to the hundredth of a mile. Imagine this, Lubie. Do you have this kind of apparatus? So he measures the walk. We entered the stadium in a different location than the one we left, and we went a mile and three quarters to get into the stadium, a mile and a half to get out. So we actually did a secondary walk almost in and out of the stadium. That was part of the experience, and we ended up not paying for the parking because I put a little thing up on Facebook seeing if somebody might. I mean, maybe I know somebody that actually had an extra parking pass, Lubie. Is that possible? So I put a thing up there. It only lasted a few minutes because the great Mike Nyman volunteered. He said he had a parking pass. He said he would meet us somewhere, which we ended up parking at Gulfstream Park, which was near where Mike was leaving from. And so he had already paid the $75. Now, what would be the protocol there? Do you offer the guy some money for the parking pass sitting in the back? We ended up, and what made the whole experience much more than tolerable overall was the fact that, A, we didn't have to pay to park, and then B, we made a pit stop at Las Patas. And I would have to say, Gail and Harry, man, I mean, worthy of every mention as the best in town. That was absolutely fantastic. Saved the day. Brings up a food question, though, because I naturally went with my tuna with everything on it. And then we sort of left the remains of the sandwich, which there wasn't much. We had to cut in thirds, actually, 2/3 of this thing before we went into the ballgame. Not to say that we were inebriated or a little bit stoned. And it melted in my mouth. And then we left it in the trunk of Mike's car during the game. It was a night game, and it wasn't extremely hot. It was very humid. Would you have gone back and eaten the remains of the sandwich the next day?
Oh, the next day, no. But later that day.
All right, it was the same thing. I mean, it was in the fridge. It wasn't like we. But I actually took it, and it was still okay. I think.
Oh no, if you put it in the fridge, it's fine.
That was after it sat in the car though for like 6 hours.
I mean, I don't know. You're talking the wrong guy. I pushed the limits. I don't know if
I would have eaten it if it was in the car for 3 days and it was the daytime. I don't know. I'm just not going to let that thing go. All right, so that was interesting. The NFL, though, took the spotlight yesterday. The Dolphins didn't play. That always alleviates a lot of pressure to watch a game. I feel obligated to actually have some idea what happened in these Dolphin games. I'm not as obsessed with watching every play as I used to be when we were on the air, and the entire week would be built around whatever happened in the last game, the previous game, and what's coming up next. I'm at the point now where I'm sort of numbed to the idea that the Dolphins don't play again until next Monday night, and they take on the New York Jets, who were in one of these wild finish games. I mean, it was I was reading an article by Mike Vaccaro, and he was talking about and lamenting the idea and actually suggesting, I'm sure partially facetiously, that there need to be amendments made to the field goal rules so that you don't have such an easy path to put 3 points on the board because of the fact that the distance of field goals has expanded exponentially, and now you're having games won or tied or decided on guys kicking field goals from 60 plus. And they seem to make them as a matter of routine. We were talking about it last week. There were any number of ridiculously long field goals that were decisive factors in NFL games. I don't know how you feel about it. I was never, nobody's like a big field goal fan of field goals. Game-winning field goals are dramatic, but nonetheless, they seem to be somewhat automatic for the most part, except for yesterday. So right after this article about how you should amend the field goal rules by Mike Vaccaro that I read in a post, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I buy that. Do you, Libby? Do you think there need to be changes in the field goal rules
No.
to discourage people from trying field goals or making it? The theory, part of the theory was, well, geez, you don't have to go very far. Now they're giving you the ball at the 35 or the 40-yard line many times with the new kickoff rules. And so where do you have to go? If a guy's capable of kicking a 64-yarder, you essentially can be 57 yards away from the end zone. To what would it be? Yeah, if you're at like the 50, you're going 57 at 67 yards, right? So you need to get just inside the 50, just across midfield,
Yes.
and you're already in field goal range. I mean, what are we talking about here? Pete Maravich shooting the rock for LSU? What do you think? I mean, should something be done to amend that from being the case, in your opinion, Mike Lubie? Let's start there.
I mean, no. I mean, you're seeing more teams go for it on the other side of the 50. Yeah, their legs are better, but teams still would rather have 7. And the efficiency of offenses and the level of scoring, like settling for 3 is a loss a lot of the time. Like a lot of the time when a defense can get an offense to settle for 3, you'll take it. Again, it's called settling for 3. So no, I don't think I would get if a cocktail kickoff weirds me out. I would rather just go back to a regular kick because they're just trying to get.
I still don't understand the kickoff.
They're just trying to get. I mean, if you have a touchback, it's ridiculously punitive. So teams are trying to have kickoffs. Okay, so if any of you are trying to have kickoffs anyways, why do we still have this weird crap where they're like looking at each other and then they can't run and then like I don't.
It's like a sacrifice fly.
Just go back to a regular kickoff then. Like you admit it was stupid. You admit the safety thing is still whatever it is because football is football. And you need kickoffs because the game got really boring when we weren't having kickoffs and everyone was starting at the 20. So just go back to the other old way because the kickoff thing now is just weird and dumb. But no, field goals are fine. I don't mind you having to think about it at the 45. Like I'd rather you go for it or try and get a field goal as opposed to just 25 punts. Like we're seeing a lot less punts and that's a better game. Like when you see those games where it was just the Dolphins and the Jets punting it back and forth, like who wants to watch that? So it's like, again, the 3-point basketball is annoying, but the Knicks Heat in the mid to late 90s was annoying. So, there's always things that can be better, but it's not the field goal kicking. I mean, your friend's allowed to have his opinion, but I don't care. I haven't thought at all about field goal kicking. I've thought about a lot of other things, but it's not field goal kicking.
This was Vaccaro. We should get him on the show.
Yeah, I love Vaccaro. I'll ask him on.
Discuss his position. Because I think he was sort of kidding about it. But
no one I talk to worries about goddamn field goal kicking. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of things people bitch about with the game. Field goal kicking is like the least of those things.
People were suggesting all kinds of crazy changes to the rules, varying the amount of points that you get for certain distance of field goals and actually making it less likely that you would attempt field goals from long distance, which I don't mind. See, if a guy wants to go ahead, it's punitive enough if you miss that if you're going for these 64-yard field goals, unless there's no time left in the game, but if there is and it's a close ball game and you're attempting that, you risk the possibility, though, and almost in some cases a likelihood, that the other team is now going to get the ball in ridiculously good field goal position themselves.
100%. It's not automatic.
Yeah.
And even when they're far, like guys have better legs, yes, but they're not hitting them 100%. Like they're pushing it to a place where they're not automatically making it. And then yesterday you had Blockfest. So
unbelievable.
It doesn't. Nothing's guaranteed. Again, it's just. I mean, the Jets find a way to lose. I guess is guaranteed. But again, our Dolphins are doing the same thing. So
That's 2 weeks in a row, though, that Baker Mayfield has marched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down the field with like 2 minutes to go in a ball game or less, and pulled off a game-winning drive. Remember, we thought he was finished. I kind of like those kind of stories. I don't know. Baker Mayfield still remains popular. Was he not like somewhat of a known jerk coming out of college, Lubie, Baker Mayfield, and he was the number one overall pick, and it was sort of a surprise that you would have to say that as number one overall picks go with his original team, it was a disappointment, and he was a vagabond, he was a journeyman, he was one of those guys that you see showing up at training camp midway through the season with a suitcase and a duffel bag with some equipment in it. And if you happen to be hanging around a facility there, as we were when we were reporting on the team on a much deeper basis, and you're going, wait, isn't that Baker Mayfield? The guy's coming in for a tryout. You got to be kidding me. It was sort of at that stage, and then he found a home now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and 2 weeks in a row, dramatic fashion, pulls games out of his ass. Pretty impressive stuff, and people are back on the Baker Mayfield bandwagon. He'll probably be on every commercial again if he isn't already. I think I already saw him on a couple of new spots.
Yes, he's back.
If he's playing even decent ball, he's hawking just about everything. So. I mean, done more with less at one time than anybody, and now he's distinguishing himself as being a really good quarterback. So he had wild finishes all across the board, Lubie. Were you catching a lot of NFL action, or did you take the day off because
No, I was
no Dolphins?
It was full swing. No, it was great to not have the Dolphins.
Isn't it great not to have to watch this trek?
It was wonderful. To not have to stress out about whatever Mike McDaniel's doing or not doing.
This game killed a lot of people in the survivor pools. The big one at the Circa, I believe, lost 3,000 of its competitors already, and they had already lost many, but you didn't have the monumental upsets early in the season. We weren't seeing one of those, Saints winning somehow over a really good team, which I don't know that the Saints are going to win a game. They look really, really bad.
Rough, yeah.
I was suggesting on any of the handicapping shows that we do and other platforms, and including here on Bleacher Brothers, just bet against the Saints every week until they win a game. You're already up 3 units. And in all likelihood, they can't accord them enough points for you to be tempted to go ahead and assume that they're going to actually cover a point spread. They look horrible. You had the Panthers, who also were deemed to be by many the worst team or among the worst teams, like bottom 3 in the National Football League, and they shut out their opposition yesterday. That was kind of a shock. What was that? The Falcons that went down 30-0 to the Panthers?
Yeah, the Panthers annihilated the Falcons. It was weird.
People are screaming. Maybe they pulled the plug. My friend Mike Jones suggested this a couple of weeks ago already. He said maybe they were a little quick to bench Kirk Cousins in favor of Michael Penix.
Oh,
now you're losing 30-0 to one of the worst teams in the league. Don't even ring the gallop. Incredible. The Cleveland Green Bay game, though, that buried a lot of people in the survivor pools. Green Bay's up 10-0 with 3-4 minutes to go in the ball game, and they end up losing 13-10 to the lonely Browns. Philadelphia. That game had a wild finish. You thought that the Rams had this game in the bag, didn't they?
I stopped paying attention. I thought that game was done. They were up by double digits.
That wasn't Cristobal coaching. That was Sean McVay. How do you lose that one? And then they're going in for that would have been a game-winning field goal if they had kicked it. And Philly blocks the field goal and runs it in for a touchdown. So I don't know if that affected the over/under, but that was a pretty wild finish. The Tampa Bay Jets game, the Jets block a field goal, running in for a touchdown, take the lead. Aaron Glenn is thinking, I did it, I got my first win. He's running down the sidelines, he's dancing like he just won the presidential election, and only to see Baker Mayfield come back and destroy them as he got the game-winning drive. Chargers in Denver. Denver was in command in that ball game. They lose it late. Arizona, San Francisco, you had a late safety, and then the 49ers managed to march it down the field, get a game-winning field goal. They win it 16-15. Big shocker, I thought. This was one of my games that I gave out, Lubie, I'm ashamed to say, with a certain level of certainty. Is that redundant? A certain level of certainty.
Yeah.
With a degree of certainty. Let's
That's redundant. Yes, less redundant.
I'm really starting to sound like Norm Crosby on this show. A certain level of certainty. Yeah, thanks, Defo. What exactly does that mean? A degree of certainty, and Chicago destroys the Dallas Cowboys. Lubie, I was laughing at that line when originally it was favoring the Bears by a point in that game. There was something odd about that game. Are we going to have to look into speaking of certain games as not necessarily being on a level? What was weird about that game? The Bears were favored originally. Then the money came pouring in. I hope it wasn't on my recommendation on the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys go out there and literally get shellacked by the Chicago Bears. They were down and never really in that ball game. They ultimately lose at 31-14. So that was a wild one. You had the Chiefs last night over the Giants. See, here's one. When you're in desperation mode, desperation can be the mother of invention, Louie. Necessity is the mother of invention. I think in sports, desperation can be that. And people talk about desperation as if it was a legitimate, tangible commodity. They were talking about that, the narrative, who's they? But whatever the narrative was and wherever it comes from, Louie, wasn't that part of the equation in the Gators game versus the University of Miami? As the money was pouring in on the Florida Gators, that line fluctuated from 9 and a hook down to 7.5. And I believe it went off 7 and a hook. And I thought, remember we were talking about this. I thought, how are the Canes not at least a 10-point favorite in that ball game?
I said over 10, I would have leaned the Gators just because I don't trust Cristobal. But I thought no matter what it was, it would be very much like USF, where it'd be close throughout the first half, just because the Canes have done that versus everyone. Again, Cookman, they didn't get their second touchdown until the second quarter. Because that's what they do. They do these long drives. They use a lot of clock, but they don't leave a lot of room for like mistake. Like if your defense does allow scores, you're in a dogfight now. Like you're not. And again, FSU is doing this versus garbage teams. I get it, but Miami was versus a garbage team and did this. Like FSU put up 35 points in the first quarter. Like they're not leaving room. Like
no, you don't want teams hanging around.
Yeah, but dumbass touchdown, and then they scored 3 more. Like. Miami's doing this for whoever, and they've done this for years now, right? Like whoever, we're like, wow, look at that win they got. Yeah, but they play every team the same. They let everyone hang around, no matter who they are, what level. And a lot of the times they win. And then 2 or 3 times a year, it's what Cristobal's done his whole career. He is not good coaching late in close games. So 2 or 3 times a year, look, that they should have lost that game. If UF has not even if UF has at all a competent offense,
zero offense.
They lose. Like you have had no offense. No. That's the only thing is those 2 touchdowns at the end were for the people who don't watch the games. And as we're realizing, there's AP voters that vote that have no idea what happens. They just
moved to number 2 in the country ahead of Penn State off that.
You watch that game. I know Canes fans after were trying to lie to themselves. If you watch that game, you're happy you won against a rival. That's all you got out of that game. Like there's no way you're talking to yourself like. I mean, and the only saving grace is that everyone else in the country looks average. Like
it was more alarming, I thought, than
bingo
a celebration of greatness.
As an FSU fan, that was exactly how I wanted the game to win. I hate the Gators, so to see the Gators win would have been annoying, but I didn't want to see the Canes look great. It was perfect. Canes struggled. Canes struggled for 2.5 quarters. Yeah. Their defense was fine, but it wasn't good. Like the Gators have no offense, and they were moving the ball in the second half. Like if Napier was if Napier had done what Norvell had done and got a real play caller, the Gators win that game too. Even with a crappy offense, the Gators win the game. His play calling in the second half was abysmal. Like he would throw when he needed to run, he would run when he needed to throw. It was like, dude, like they were in field goal range, down 6 with a whole quarter left. Why are you going for it there? Like he went for it with an offense that was horrendous, didn't get it. And you could see like the defense was playing their asses off. Like the defense was keeping them in the game. If you're not getting points on the other end, that's what happened eventually. Eventually the defense was like, all right, screw it. Yeah. And gave up the 2 stupid touchdowns that they didn't give up anything like that the entire game. Like,
I mean, even after they scored late, then they tacked on a meaningless touchdown at the end. But I mean, it was still only 19-7, and you think it should have been a slaughter.
And was smarter. If Napier kicks that field goal and it's 13-10, 13-10 with a whole fourth quarter, the way that the Canes hadn't moved the ball for a quarter and a half at that point.
Desperation, though.
It was 2 horrible coaches going against each other, and Cristobal had more talent, so Cristobal won. Like.
Beck didn't look impressive to me. He was missing a lot of passes. They never threw the ball down the field. The rare occasion when they did, it either got picked off or dropped. didn't look like a number 2 team in the country to me. And considering that the Gators, despite the fact that at one time they were ranked 13th a couple of weeks ago before
I
they
mean,
sustained
they're
these
not.
losses,
They're not good.
if you were watching the Gators, that they actually looked like the cupcake game that you were scheduled for homecoming, and they did absolutely nothing to pressure the Hurricanes offensively. Lagway didn't throw the ball. You didn't even know that the Gators had wide receivers.
No, and they supposedly have good receivers. They were praising how amazing their young receivers are, and I'm not rooting for either team. I was literally just rooting for the defenses because I can't stand either team, but I lean at least I'll root on the Canes over the Gators, and I was like, I don't even know what to do with the Canes from the middle of the second quarter to the fourth. It was just like, okay.
It did nothing. It was you were ready to scream, even being at the stadium.
I was like,
I remember texting you during the game, Cristobal factor, because I'm watching this bloodbath, which should be a complete.
They had the Gators. They had it. It's like, dude, just put your foot on the throat and end the game. Like that's what I thought they would do is in the second quarter because they were totally controlling it, but they would do these stupid ass offensive drives, and it was like
their running plays are extremely unimaginable.
It's like, what do you do?
Are unimaginative. They're not unimaginative, but unimaginative. The simple sort of delayed handoff to a running back out of the shotgun, and then you push the guy up the middle. Clearly, the Hurricanes had better talent on the field than the Gator defense, but I didn't see any creativity whatsoever. Certainly no pressure applied. If you're going to have Carson Beck and he's having this Heisman Trophy season, why not let him throw the ball a little bit? The Hurricanes wide receivers have been distinguished themselves very well with circus catches, even though it's not one of those groups where you recognize everybody and know with certainty that these guys are going to be going first round in the NFL draft. But that being said, they've been very effective. All they do is catch the ball. So why not open it up a little bit to just sit on that? You didn't have a big enough lead to sit on it, and
they weren't getting touchdowns.
The other team had nothing. It's like a fighter that has a guy knocked down 3 times in the first round and doesn't go to finish the job, and then they just let the other guy hang around. It happened actually with Manny Pacquiao against Juan Manuel Marquez when he knocked him down 4 times in the first round. No 3 knockdown rule. And then for whatever reason, now this was credit in that case to Marquez and his resiliency and his ability to bounce back from being slaughtered early on. But the Gators showed none of that. And Mike Nyman's theory was that Napier would be gone today, that the Gators are sitting on a bag full of money and ready to give him his departing capital, which I thought was in the 23, 24 million range.
It was like $5 million. Remember, he was from Louisiana. His buyout's not bad.
His buyout? Oh, I thought his buyout was like over 20-something million.
I'll look it up. I don't think it is. I don't think it's.
I might wager on that one just because I read it recently. Because there's so much speculation about this guy getting canned, and then who comes in? Would it be?
That's the problem.
John Gruden?
No.
That's
the problem. It's like, who do you bring? Again, at the end of the year, you have a better idea of coordinators and coaches. Like, look, the guy from Indiana is going to be very interesting. Like, to see Indiana do what Indiana's doing, second year in a row.
Weird was too. We were saying that the lower ranked team by 10 spots was favored by 6.5 points, even though they were at home. And they annihilate the competition. What was that? Illinois versus Indiana?
Illinois was top 10, and they beat them by like 50. You're right. Napier supposed to have like a $21 million buyout, which I did not think.
Yes.
I mean, that's not that high in this thing.
He'd be gone if it was 5. No, I mean already.
Like they have a nice little run of rough here, and I presume he's gonna be the coach for like the Texas game. He's gonna coach that. Then we'll see, because they're 1-3 now. When they lose to Texas, and Texas finally looked like Texas. It took Texas 3 games, and by game 4 they finally looked good versus a bad team. That's right when they're about to play Florida. Like I presume Texas is going to work them in a way Miami did, and Texas knows that Texas has actually fallen back in the rankings because they haven't been beating teams soundly. I don't think they're going to just play with their food like Miami did. That's when it could be interesting. You're now 1-4. You still have like 4 more ranked teams in a row. And it's not going to get easier. And the team's not learned. I mean, again, he's supposed to be an offensive guy, and the offense, it's the worst offense in college football. And it's their worst offense. I mean, they're the Gators. They were always known for high flying offenses in the 90s. And Urban Meyer's offenses at least put up points. I don't know. I don't know what he's not going to make the year. It's like McDaniel.
Their offense against the Canes looked like it could have been Bethune-Cookman's offense.
Well, no, look, and the Canes have a good defensive line, but the rest of like when he got time, guys were open. He just misses passes. He's just not good.
It was ugly. We'll get into the game day experience a little bit too, because I don't know if it's just that I'm getting old, Lubie. That didn't seem. I didn't feel like an old geezer going to a ball game there and saying, "How far to the stadium?" But we invested 9 hours of our lives in going to this ball game.
That's why I don't
The
think
game itself was not particularly exciting.
No,
The
no.
crowd was good, and I will say this: I don't know, maybe there were fights and all kinds of riots going on elsewhere in the stadium, but where I was, people couldn't have been any more polite, cordial. Now, maybe because it was some expensive seats. I don't know. We were on the Gators side. Yet that part of it was all good. That experience was fine. I was grabbing a beer yesterday out of the refrigerator, and I buy whatever denomination, I guess, in terms of ounces and style of presentation is on sale when it comes to my post-walk Budweisers.
There you go.
Okay, so the last purchase I made, this is not my favorite way to go ahead and guzzle these beers, was in 12-ounce cans. Now, the problem is if you're only drinking half a beer, let's say you go for one and then you have half of another and you have a can, you've opened the can, you leave it in the fridge. It's good for maybe a day or so, and then it's pretty much wasted. Now, the likelihood is I'm going to consume it. My favorite way to buy it is in the 16-ounce aluminum bottles.
Yeah.
That's the best way. You can recap them. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's more than enough beer for one to be satisfactory after the walk. If you get into a second one, no problem. You're covering the thing up. All right, so I grabbed one of these cans. I got a 12-ounce can of beer. And this was a beer that I paid $18 for 18 cans, at the Publix, which we know the prices at grocery stores. Insane now. I bought 4 items again last night, $35, $40. 4 items, nothing particularly. I mean, it was a pound of roast beef there, but it didn't even get to a pound because they were down to the hub. What do? Do you ask them to open up a fresh one, Louie, when they're down to the nub? And it's enough to maybe accommodate your order. They have every right to sell you the last bit of it, but what would you say? Hey, can you get me a new one? I don't know.
I don't.
It's hard enough to get the attention of a guy at the deli counter anyway.
I don't.
Much less hassle them about some form of procedural effort that they're going to have to make. But yeah, I mean, you're in there and it's like very, very expensive. So I'm always happy to save the money on my Budweiser purchase. But when I'm holding this tiny little can of beer, Lubie, it looked like something that you would get if you were setting up a toy kitchen. All right, a tiny little can of beer. They're charging you $13 for that at a ball game, Lubie. That's insane when you think about it. Like you don't consider the level of insanity. $13 for one stinking beer is crazy. And now that's nothing new. And would that constitute a bargain price? I mean, who can go to these games, Lubie? Tickets $3.50 a pop. Parking from a mile and a half away, $75 for the yellow lots. $75, 100 and something if you were inside the actual confines of the stadium parking lots there. And then, I mean, if you're eating or drinking anything, you're tacking on easily another stick. And people are bringing little kids to these games, Libby. Little kids. I thought for the overall experience, and the other thing, and Mike alluded to this also, Mike Nyman, he was sitting in another location, but the amount of delays. Now, look, you're watching these games at home for free. So can you complain about the way they're presented while somebody else is at the stadium and getting clobbered to that level of extortion is what it amounts to? But for the experience, I mean, unless you're just filthy rich, Libby, we would have had to invest essentially close to $1,000 for 2 people to go to this game. $1,000. And then it takes forever because they run the ball. It's crystal ball football. Run the ball. 3 dull running plays, punting away, and then there's like 10 minutes more before you get back into action. It was kind of insane. You would have to be literally a diehard fan of the team to get me to do this on a regular basis. I don't know how you feel about it. If you had season tickets for FSU, what was the experience? Did it drag on like that?
No, I mean,
You go to Doak Campbell. I mean, aren't you parking somewhere nearby? I mean, you're walking there if you're a student, but
oh no, yeah, you have to you park at someone's house, and it used to be like $15 to $20. I don't know what they're charging
there
now.
were some no blocky lots, but they were about 2 miles. You
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
walk about 2 miles to get there.
I don't. It's why I don't go to games really ever because, and I feel bad because I like a loaded stadium. I like a packed stadium. I like
Atmosphere is totally different. Yeah,
at the game, and I'm one of those that stands the whole game. So I like that part of it, but the parking, the walking, everything being expensive, then after dealing with the traffic, and it's just older age, whatever. I mean, I'm not that old. I felt like this for a long time. Like, and again, what everything costs is just insane. And that's the problem. That's why I haven't been an FSU game in over a decade. Like all the stuff you're talking about. And then also you have to pay for a hotel or Airbnb. And what normally is $100 room becomes $500 on game weekends.
it's kind of like going to the Kentucky Derby.
So it's just, no, it is. And
Or you're at the Red Roof Inn, $500 a night.
Like you're like, oh, they're going to play Kent State this week. Okay, no, any game weekend, the hotels find out when the home games are, and you can do it a year before. Like I've tried to do it the minute the schedule comes out, they get the same schedule we get. So that the minute you go to look a year out or whatever it is, 8 months out, 7 months out, like they already have the prices up. So it's like, it's just, again, for my 40th, we were going to go to an FSU game because I really wanted to go. Shirley's never been, I think she's been to FSU maybe once when she was in college, but she's never been to a game. She's never walked the campus. Like, it is a really cool experience. Like, the campus is like a northeastern kind of campus. There's hills, so it doesn't feel like Florida. The weather's different. The people are really cool. The atmosphere is a blast. Like, going to an FSU game, especially at night when the chop's going, there's nothing like it. But like, for two people to go in, especially if we got a hotel, it was going to be like over $2,000. So it's like,
right.
We literally went to Greece for less. Like, it's hard to
go to Europe for
it's just hard. And I like going to the games and I love it. And I appreciate everyone who finds a way to spend the money, especially when they bring kids. But it's just at home when you can go between the games with your remote and get whatever drink you want for whatever price, as opposed to making it an all-day affair. And then your team may lose or your team may win in ugly fashion. So you're just like, well, I spent all that for that. It's just hard. I want it to not be like that, but it's hard for me to go. It's just really hard for me to go to games.
I understand 1,000% why people, I sound like Trump now, 1,000%, 100%, why people would say it's just not for me anymore. In spite of the fact that I enjoyed myself. I had a great time.
There, it's fun. Yeah, but
I am not inclined to, unless I was doing a show, I didn't want to be anywhere near a ballpark 3-4 hours before the game starts. That's never been my bag, although I've kind of done that somewhat my whole life. Even when I was vending at Shea, you were there before the gates open, getting ready to do everything. And then that was a big part of selling souvenirs because most of those were purchased before the game got started. So I don't mind it. I used to do these pregame shows out there 4 hours before kickoff, and while it got a bit laborious there, as you were saying, well, Joe Zagacki, what about their defensive line versus our offensive line? I'll tell you what, Kevin Rogers is going to take a look at that. Then you'd hit the feature. But at least it had the time go by quickly. It was very humid. They gave out some towels. Thank God they did. They were giving out these Go towels, the Dolph Van Denny Go towel. Cocaines, and thank goodness they gave everybody a couple of them because I had soaked through one. That humidity really hovers. We would have been on the sun side if that was a day game. We would have fried, but had a good time. My buddy hadn't been to a big-time college game. He seemed to enjoy himself, but he came away sort of in the same frame of mind as I did, which was, I don't know that I would go out of my way to do that again anytime soon. Unless it was if you were going to a national championship game or something like that, Lubie, it would have to really be a game that had some deep significance for me to want to go out there and go through that entire experience all over again. Very content to watch the thing on TV and remember what it was like to be at the stadium. So that's the way I approach that. But thank you to Tony Segreto. And unfortunately, Len Robbins wasn't able to make it to the game due to a death in the family. So he had to cancel his trip. And that accorded us the opportunity to go ahead and take advantage of the hospitality that Tony had generated for us. And so I don't want to sound like an ingrate, Lubie. Do I sound like an ingrate?
Yeah, you do, but nothing you're saying is wrong.
I'm just saying this from a fan experience standpoint. It has nothing to do with how we acquired the tickets or why we ended up going. Whereas I always like going to games as opposed to, and I would have to remind myself sometimes if I hadn't gone to a ball game or a hockey game or whatever for a long stretch that you need to get out there because you can't really see what's going on TV to the extent, if you're a big sports fan, that you can if you're there. Unless, of course, everybody is standing up on every play, which I found that. What's the deal there? If you're going to an FSU game, what you're standing through the kickoff? Do people stand the entire ball game? I don't remember that being the case.
The student section does. That's why I like going in the student section. I hate going to FSU games in the public section. The student section stands the whole game. The student section stands the whole game. So they're the end zones. The two sides don't. The two sides will stand, big play, cheer, sit down. And you can see, and I always thought it was funny. That game, I don't know, was a rivalry game. And
there weren't enough significant plays, though.
It was close the whole game, so it kept
standing all the time.
Both fan bases involved, I guess. I don't know. Whenever I've gone to Hard Rock, I've been to plenty of games. You don't stand the whole time there.
I don't remember doing that. I honestly don't.
I've been to FSU games there. I've been to many games. You don't stand. So I don't know. I don't know why that game they were doing that.
You literally have the best seat in the house, and you're standing up. Now, I understand a big play or something, a 4th and 1 with the game on the line. Everybody gets up and starts yelling and screaming. But the way Cristobal calls these games,
it's not.
There's no reason. You're lucky you're not passing out in your seat, just sitting there like it's weekend at Bernie's. I mean, it was incredibly boring the way that this guy was proceeding in this ball game. And I couldn't believe they were hanging around. I really could not believe that game was close.
It's because and I love Hyde, so I'm going to try and get him on because he can talk.
How they catapulted the
things.
But though, Lubie. I mean,
Penn State and LSU have not been good, and they haven't played anyone. Okay. I've been waiting for those two teams to get moved out. This wasn't the week for it. Like UM played a bad UF team.
That's the number 2 team in the country. Then college football is not very good.
I'm sorry, they dicked around. Like they literally people are looking at the final score and they covered. It was a 1-score game with 4 minutes left, and they were struggling to get it in the end zone to make it that multiple score game.
These stupid runs up the middle it's telegraphed as anything that you've ever seen.
I want to get a college person on.
Slow developing running plays too. I mean, just Beck turns around and goes, "Oh, here's a running back."
Because you'll see their offense opening up. It's like, okay, because people love the Shannon Dawson. I think he's but people love him because I guess they give him the credit for when the offense is humming. I just put it all on him, right? Whether it's humming or average, to me, that should be the offense coordinator. But a lot of people are doing, and maybe they're right. And I really would love to talk to someone that knows college football, that knows what's going on more than we do, because there's a clear-cut moment in every game, whether it's Oregon, other years with other coordinators, or this year, where you can see them going from fun, throwing it around, to now for 5 straight drives, we're going to do nothing.
Put a win on it, yes.
So it's like, is Cristobal, is the coach taking Cristobal's lead? Is Cristobal now saying, all right, what is happening there? Because all these people love Shannon Dawson. They think it's this great mind. But every game, his offenses go, even with Cam Ward, they would go into these. That's what happened with the series. They were up by 3 touchdowns. If you're scoring every drive, you don't give up a 3-touchdown lead. Like, there's this moment where they stopped doing that.
Yeah, there was no reason for that game to be.
So it's like,
none.
Is it Shannon Dawson or Cristobal? Because you're telling me don't blame Cristobal, but you're also saying Shannon Dawson's great. So pick, you can't have it all. It's
the offensive coordinator was not impressive in this game.
And that's my thing. So, but people love him. So then are we all just admitting it's not him?
It was as boring of Kane's offense as I've ever seen. Now I do go back to the day where they were electrifying, and we all had a lot of fun with that when they were dominating college football. Andy says he was ridiculed for saying that the Canes were unimpressive. I did not think they were. I mean, they were underwhelming. I was shocked when I saw they moved up to number 2 off that performance, and I thought, well, who lost? Penn State. All of these, they were 4th going in, so they leapfrogged 2 teams without really looking that good against a team that's now 1-3 with their lone win over Long Island University. Get the hell out of here. And handicap. What was that? Go ahead, Bill.
Well, the Notre Dame win's not impressive. Notre Dame has 2 losses. Their one win is against a very bad Purdue team who they screwed around with until the third quarter. Like, it's not. I'm not trying to tear down UM because no one's looked.
No, I mean, they won and they
and even Oklahoma struggled this week. Auburn, I think, is average. They just played a lot of man. Oklahoma and Auburn was like UF. Like the offenses in that game were an abomination. Like that wasn't. Oh wow, look at like that was the first time Oklahoma looked. Like they won versus a number 22 team. But like they moved up 4 spots. They played number 22. Their one score that was impressive, everyone has now said it should have been overturned because they sent a guy like he was running off the field, and then at the last second when no one was looking, he like stayed on the field.
Because of fly pattern,
which is like against the rules supposedly by a lot. So like then they didn't win by a touchdown. So what? There's really no one. I mean, FSU's looked the most impressive, but they played 2 cupcakes. So even I don't know. You can't
say they're scoring 143 points in the last 2 games.
They're the number 1 scoring offense. They're averaging almost 60
and
points.
that's with scrubs. Yeah, we have to get a couple of messages in here, and we'll come back and finish things off. Baseball was heating up also. A lot of good stuff. You have the Ryder Cup coming up this week. A lot of people, certainly in the New York media, they're talking about that, which I catch a lot of with my New York Post. Laver Cup, that's kind of an interesting thing that's happened in tennis, the Laver Cup. I like the intensity with which these guys play. And the configuration of teams, it's Europe versus the world. And the United States is part of the world team. Clearly not part of the European team, but great players turned out for that. Top guys all the way across. I know they probably grease them with a fairly significant appearance fee just for showing up for this thing. Taylor Fritz was the man, though, in this. And then I did want to mention this for Jim Sarney, because I don't know if he even caught this. There's this guy, he looks, just doesn't look the part. And I was always a big fan, this covering track and field for many years of the mile run. And I was very lucky to catch the era where you had Eamon Coughlin, the chairman of the boards, John Walker, out of New Zealand, very distinguished miler, Steve Scott, America's premier miler. And these races would shape up, and you didn't know who was going to win from one race to the next. Indoors, you knew it was going to be Coughlin because he was going to elbow some guy right around the 3/4 mile mark and then sprint off and win by a nose. But this guy, Cole Hocker, U.S. distance runner, somehow he got DQ'd. I didn't see this from the 1,500 meters. I've seen him in the mile before. He wins the 5,000 meters at the World Championship. We never win these distance races, Lubie.
Oh, no, that's weird.
Holy Marty LaCory. I mean, what are we talking about?
Back in the day when you had like white guys.
Yeah.
England versus America.
Oh, white guy from the U.S. wins this thing. I mean, over like where were the Kenyans?
Yeah, that's
white guarding this event? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's weird.
We're going to come back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:53.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Joe Bees. The bees collect the pollen, bring it to Joe, he packages it, and he gets it to you. It's simple, 100% natural, and it's good for you.
There's only one place to get Joe Bees, and that's from me. Joe B.
If you want to look and feel good, call 877-300-5632.
Don't gamble in anger.
She hit. She hit the daily.
Very calm. Think it through. If you need a little
gamble in
help, don't
anger.
gamble in anger. It
I
never works.
get a panicked phone call, and he says, "Do you have any extra cash?" I go, "Yeah, I brought money with me to Atlantic City." He goes, "Well, I can't get any more out of the card because the Mustang
shut
went
up,
wild and emptied the daily allotment of cash."
Double nickels, man. She went for a nickel on her card and a nickel on mine.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
One of our sponsors greatly enhanced my experience at the Canes game against the Florida Gators. Joe B's. Without the Joe B's, I don't know if I have the energy to walk over that thing, especially when you go to the overpass. Because even though I'm walking a little over 4 miles every day, I rarely miss a day, Lubie, which is great. It's just become a part of my whole being. I can't go a day without doing the walk of life. And then you think sometimes when you're doing it, oh, okay, there's a pretty good distance to go. But all that being said, being in pretty good shape, inclines, when you have to go over that bridge that goes over the street, what was that, Dan Marino Way or whatever it is, Don Shula Boulevard? I don't know what they've named the street.
Yeah.
They didn't have the $20 no blocky, though. I was afraid to show up at the game and not have a parking pass. And if you didn't, you were completely rhymes with ducked.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't pay to get into the lots anymore.
Yep.
That's a big departure from the previous Hurricane game I got to, which has to be like 12, 13 years ago when they played Virginia. Nobody was there. And you rolled into a parking lot. They were charging you $40. What should be the top price for parking? If you're paying $50 at a sporting event, is that already anti-American? What do you think? There's a lot of question right now is, are we ruining our democracy? I think we are with these parking prices, no? How come that's not factored in?
It's weird. I mean,
$100 to park a car is.
I don't get that. I don't get why the parking.
Here's Pam Bondi and the price gouging. Remember, wasn't she in charge of that at one time?
Yeah.
After hurricanes here in town?
They don't care.
They don't really care. All right, but the Joe B's gives you a jolt of energy that you can't imagine. It's not like you used to drink those things, right? Monster energy drinks and stuff like that, and then you would collapse like by noon.
Yep.
But this is great, and it definitely fuels your system. It helps in so many ways. So I'm glad I was taking my capsules. And then I have to say, the Las Panas original hoagies would be somebody whips out a bag of Las Panas original hoagies, and they have a few of them in there. And you want a roast beef, you want the Italian, you want the monster. At a tailgate party, do you really need to bring a grill at that point, Lubie? And do all this fancy schmancy stuff that people do? I can't believe the extremes that people go to for tailgating. Were you ever involved in that heavily? I never. I mean, as much as I like to grill and throw parties back in the day, and I didn't mind if I was working the grill for hours at a time. You remember these things. People
Yep.
eating and drinking all day, falling into the pool, dropping into the canal. And I would not have even the slightest inclination to set up one of those things that these guys do at the tailgate party when you see the really elaborate stuff. Have you ever done that as a...
I've been involved. I've never myself hosted it. It stresses me out. I brought stuff
with
to
tent
it.
and all this and
A lot of people
TV.
bring TVs and they have
Hell,
sometimes they'll do like high level stuff, lobster and filet mignon, and it's like
you're in a parking lot at a stadium.
or I usually stop and get food. I don't know. It's just easier.
Grab a sandwich. I mean, what else do you need? But I'm always impressed by the extent and the extremes that people go to in order to enhance their enjoyment of the game. But all you really need to do is stop at Las Panas original hoagies. That absolutely hit the spot. It was fantastic, and I still have a little chunk left in the fridge. So, and it literally, it's true. It's like calling my name, Defo. All right, baseball. I know you've kind of dropped the ball on following baseball, Lubie. Will you get back involved once the playoffs come around? The Marlins, by the way, have won 6 in a row and are closing out the season.
I'm paying attention to the Marlins.
Fashion. They've been good. I mean, could they possibly? I didn't see. There were a few games under 500. Are they approaching the possibility of finishing at 500? That would be remarkable. How many apologies do we have to send to this Bendix guy to accommodate for the fact that we implied that he was a complete buffoon and a fool? That he was just really a plant here to go ahead and orchestrate what is the sporting version of Project 2025 that was being applied by one Bruce Sherman, who seemed fueled by his desire to be the worst franchise in Major League Baseball. they were anything but that. This McCullough guy, does he deserve consideration for manager of the year? To do what he did, he won't get it. I mean, there'll be others that end up far ahead of him in the consideration. But I don't know, to do what he did with this lineup, is that
And
not
4 under with 6 games left? They can finish at or above 500, which they first of all sucked for the first 2 months. Then after that run, they then were horrendous for like a month. Like it was a while that they went back to being not good.
So they would have to go 5-1 the remaining games to finish at 500.
But I mean, look, they've just won 4 in a row or 5 in a row.
6 in a row. 6 in a row now.
6 in a row. And what, 9 of 10 or something like that? Like
incredible.
The teams have gone on streaks this year. It's impressive. And look, we told Bendix if he did anything, we give him credit. I mean, I give the guy loads of credit. He's done what these other teams have done. He's built a nice young rotation. He has nice young bats in the lineup that they haven't had really in years.
We thought he was a bozo, a complete
100%. They were just getting rid of anyone getting nothing back.
We implied he was the bat boy with the Rays, not involved in the front office. That he was handing out pine tar and hoping the guy just didn't break the bat and it came flying in his direction when he wasn't looking. And instead, he managed. If this team finishes, I mean, imagine they go 5-1 and finish at 500. Manager of the year, this guy McCullough.
Yeah, honestly, yes.
The Mets are in now a dead heat with the Cincinnati Reds for the wild card. So I guess Gurgles hit his over on the Reds because they've been on fire. I think they swept. Who did they sweep over the weekend? The Cubs, the Cincinnati Reds. The Cubs now don't have a lot to play for, although they've clinched their wild card spot. But the standings of the wild card, doesn't one wild card team get a bye in the first round? The highest rated wild card team.
I don't know.
They get the same consideration as the division winners? Because how else would that work? If you have 6 division winners, then 2 of the wild cards would have to get a bye in the first round, would they not? Or is it just the top 4 division winners? Division winners don't have to play in the first round.
No. I think the worst division winner, then it's like the NFL's doing that now. I think the worst division winner is thrown in with the wild card. I don't know if wild
Oh,
card.
really? Okay. All right.
I mean, I don't know.
Isn't that great? I mean, the way sports has changed, and I don't even feel badly about this. I used to. I would be ashamed to go on the air, and somebody would ask you, "So, how did the playoffs work, Defo?" And you have no idea.
Oh, it'd be sad, but now I don't feel bad about it. I don't understand it.
I don't get it either. I mean, there's so many teams involved. But that being said, the Mets might not be one of them, and they are stressed in New York City, Lubie. Stressed. They can't believe this. I mean, they had this thing in the bag. They were leaders. It looked like they were going to win the division. Now, hopelessly out of that position. And they are behind in the tiebreaker to the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds won the season series. So if they finished in a dead heat, the Mets would be out, Lubie, with all of that money. And they couldn't. It's possible they don't make the wild card. Yankees have closed within 2, I guess, of Toronto for their division title. That they've been streaking. And are 3 up in the wild card. The Red Sox 1 up in the wild card, and Cleveland and the Stros, I believe, are tied. Although this was weird because I was looking online. You would figure that this would be the most current standings. I don't know if this article that they had that had the standings for the wild card, which sometimes are tough to find. Why is that, Lubie? Why do they make it difficult to figure out who the hell the wild card teams are going to be? At least on the sites that I look at. But I specifically Googled it to see what was going on, and then it was inaccurate because the Reds, they had the Reds 1 game behind the Mets when in reality they're tied, and that the Mets, unfortunately for New York Met fans, with apologies to our good friend Mike Nyman. Now, do you get to the point where you're just resigned and you don't even want them to make the playoffs anymore? You're that type of fan, no? No, you're not. You haven't been. That's to your credit.
Might as well make it. I mean, look, to me, yes, there's a big difference between sucking and being average when it comes to draft in like the NBA or in the NFL. But once you're around a playoff team, there's not that big of a difference. So I'd rather, unless you're the Dallas Mavericks and one of the weirdest, stupidest things ever happens, and you're literally one night to the next, a playoff team to a lottery team, so magically now you get Cooper Flag. For the most part, just missing the playoffs and just making the playoffs, you're not that big of a difference. So I'd always rather just make it then, because I'd rather get more time for young guys. I'd rather get vets / young guys experience in a playoff setting. I mean, like it's always better to make the playoffs. I think it, and again, you never know. Like we've seen teams go on runs. Like you never look at the Heat. Like you never know what's going to happen when a team can get together and get some interesting breaks.
I'm with you. I want my team to do as well as we can.
Baseball, all you need is one pitcher to be. Again, if you're willing to go old school, and we'll see teams once in a while in the playoffs, they screw all the BS. If you have one or two really good arms, look at the Marlins in 2003. Like the lineup eventually looked good, but that year we did not think it was a good lineup. It was an interesting rotation, and that rotation carried them to their second World Series victory,
which essentially was their last moment of glory, and it was 22 years ago. Just an oddball negative odyssey sinking into the abyss of the lowest possible franchises that you could put out there on the field, and yet every now and then they pop up. So maybe there's some reason to be encouraged there. But baseball now heavily in the stretch run. Well, what do we have? A week and a half left in the regular season. Like you said, 6 games for the Miami Marlins, so that's interesting, and we'll follow that. We will try not to ignore that. Ohio State number 1, Miami 2, Penn State, LSU, Georgia. FSU drops to 8th, even though they won 66-3 or whatever that was. They
literally had backups in by the second quarter.
It seems
and then there was no drop off, because that's the thing is you'll see backups go.
How do you drop off of that game?
By the fourth quarter, they had guys in there, and I follow recruiting very avidly. They had guys I've never heard of, like scoring. Like that's what's different about this team is they go to the third and fourth string, and you don't know the difference. Like it's actually really impressive.
Yes,
to see what they did, but it's fine. I'm so nervous about the team getting complacent that I want every angle look good. Now they can bitch about being dropped, and now the Canes look amazing, even though if you watch the game, they did not look amazing. Like whatever they play,
they look vulnerable. Lubie. They looked highly vulnerable.
I think you're lucky that the ACC is like NC State's
Oh, and it was nice. I'm glad you mentioned this. The Cuse with a big win over Dabo. Yes.
That was so
They
amazing.
lost their quarterback for the season.
It didn't matter. they just put it out.
Well, you know what was great about that game? They come out, they score a remarkable catch in the corner in the end zone, gets them on the board 7-0. Dabo already crying and screaming that it should have been offensive pass interference, whatever he was complaining to God about. And they come right back and a surprise onside kick on the ensuing kickoff. They get the ball back, they get a field goal out of it. They're up 10-0. If you're going to be in a situation where your team, go for it. That's what was bothering me about this whole Mary Cristobal thing. They were not up against it, but that this conservative game plan and the running plays, as I said, unimaginative. It didn't impress me. Maybe you could say, okay, well, they had the game in hand and they did enough to win, but to be threatened at the point where it was 13-7 and Beck throws a pick, and he wasn't throwing the ball well the entire ball game.
No,
he had time to pass too. I mean, he's looking around. I don't know. Is Gators secondary that great that nobody's ever open?
He had more pressure than he's had. That's what I thought this game would be. I didn't think they'd be the 85 Bears or an LSU or an Alabama defense, but I thought that UF would get more pressure than he's faced, and I was curious how he would recover.
I mean, they were counting Mississippi's.
He didn't. It wasn't like he was getting hit.
No.
And he was like I said all year, he's been
he's looking around and nothing happening down the field. Nothing. Throw a Chad Henne check down at the end of the thing, and the guy would go around the end for 5 or 6 yards. They keep the ball. All right, we have to run. Thanks so much for being with us. Pleasure being with you. The game day experience. I mean, would you do it again, Lubie? I don't know. I guess I would, but I would have to really want to go to the game to go ahead and go through all of that for a big game. Now, probably when the Canes. I mean, where's that Florida State game? Here or
it's at FSU. They travel decent.
I would immediately make Florida State the favorite in that game.
FSU has to get through UVA, and I hope. I mean, I presume the team and the players are focusing on it. I know that everyone wants to go to that game, but UVA, it's a short week. It's a Friday night, and FSU struggled on Friday nights. UVA is actually playing really well. Their offense is really good, and FSU come off 2 cupcakes and a bye. So the UM game for FSU is not front and center. For UM it is. I know Beck was already talking about it because they have a bye and then they play FSU. That's not the case for FSU. They need to focus on UVA this Friday. They need to keep doing what they've been doing. Like they screwed around this game. That's what was impressive to me is the defense was not what you had seen the first 2 games. and they still held them to one stupid touchdown and then a field goal for 3 quarters. Like, that's what was impressive, is they definitely were not playing their best ball, and on the scoreboard you wouldn't have known the difference. So we'll see. UVA is a big game for them, and then Miami. It hasn't been announced if it's a game day game, but you would think it probably would be. Yes, Bama and Georgia are that day, but the best that's going to be is like a 12 versus 5. Like, if FSU beats UVA, the worst they're going to be is 7. So, if they're
that's going to be good. That would be the first. I don't know, who does Miami play next week? Do we know?
No, they have a bye. Miami.
Okay.
Miami has a bye.
Wow.
Their next game is FSU.
I'm sending it in on Florida State based on what I saw this week against the Gators.
I don't know. Look, I don't know. People are going to. FSU hasn't been pushed, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I
think your boy Castellanos, when he was 25-1 for the Heisman, I think he's going to clinch it, or at least catapult himself into the lead with this victory over Miami. All right, we have to run, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope everybody's peeling themselves off the mat here by now. Don't know what the conditions are going to be for the rest of the day, but it was certainly wet enough out there yesterday to make you think maybe we catch a break today. We'll see. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
Take your Joe B's. Did I give the number out here, Lubie? 877-300-5632. Guy's going to give you 6 months for $99, throwing a 7th month free. And if you go the distance and you have 2 capsules left, you send them back to him. He says, I'll give you your money back because I know it has to do you some good. You're going to love it. All right, it's 9/11.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they